I'm gonna just start painting it now. Just kind of, and then I'm gonna probably do. I think what I want to do first is I'm going to do the background, and then I'm gonna come in and do the final touch-ups. So I'm thinking that it's probably gonna have like, there's gonna be, I'm just gonna kind of generally just rough it out. There's gonna be some grass here, right? Oh, let's come on, get to focus. Okay, cool. Get some grass here, and then I'm gonna have some like trees so that we can kind of look like we're looking at it through a graze. And then the grass is gonna be here, and then this is gonna be like a night sky. And I'll probably put maybe a nice little moon right here. But that's up to me. Some people, you could just paint this right in and then leave the wood in this, and it looks great with the wood grain and all that stuff, and it's really nice. I'm gonna just add a little extra details because I wanna, you know, I wanna make this as pretty as possible. Do note though that when I'm painting it in with all the colors, I need to be very aware of not trying to go over the lines, because then I'm gonna lose my stencil. So I'm gonna paint very delicately to the image. What I could do is I could just take this, put this right here on the side, clean up my workplace, clean up my workspace. Yeah. So I have a thin brush, then I have a thicker brush. I don't know if you guys can see that. Right, thick brush, thinner brush. The thick brush is going to be used for the more broader strokes, and then the finer point brush is going to be used for the detail stuff. That's going to probably be around the antlers and whatnot. So I think I'm going to start with some blue first, because I just have the blue here. And then what I'll do is I'll mix in a little yellow to make my green for the forest around it. By all means, you guys can use any kind of paint that you so desire. Okay. Sometimes the paint freezes. Oh yeah, it's frozen. Oh man. Okay, so this is why I have my popsicle stick right here. Oh man, this whole thing froze. You know what? That's all I need. Really don't need a lot of glue, so that's about, I think, all the glue I'm gonna need. I'll go back and clean that later. Okay, so I'm just gonna take the blue. I'm gonna do a nice, healthy kind of coat around it. I'm gonna leave this brown outline kind of in there. Just gonna come in here with the blue, paint it like a nice dark blue sky. Do note the wood is gonna absorb a good chunk of the color of the blue, so you might have to go over it a couple of times. But I think it's gonna be kind of a nice effect. When you're painting, right, do know that there is like a way of cutting the brush so that you can get like a beautiful, crisp, nice line. Beautiful. Okay, cool. Okay. I'm just gonna come in here. I'm just gonna try to knock out this blue. I've noticed that when I'm using some water on the blue, it lightens it up a little bit. So now I'm gonna come in here with the blue and just kind of get a general area of the animal. What I'm gonna do is for the more fine stuff, and this is why I put it on a piece of cardboard. I can move it around, and I could really just kind of work the angles with the paint and not really have to flex my wrist so much. Now it could be cool if you want to leave a little outline of the actual wood material around the elk so it looks like he's glowing. I'm not gonna go for that, but could be cool, to say the least. So it's super important that when you are done using a brush, you know, you could definitely swipe off any extra paint that might have gotten to the base. But you want to take this brush and you want to dip it in the water immediately. Don't let the brush just sit on the side, because then you're not going to be able to paint any other color. Maybe give it a tap, kind of get that blue off of it, because I'm gonna be having green on it next, and the last thing you want is with the acrylic paint dries kind of fast, so having the paint on it will freeze on it. But if you keep it in the water, then you're safe to go. So this is what we got so far. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to now just kind of go around the edges and make sure that the blue is really nice and crisp all around it, and then we'll come in with the green. Maybe paint the background a little bit. I'm gonna show you how to mix a couple colors, and we'll go from there. Just go slow. So here's a trick when it comes to working with acrylic, right? Because I just right now I rushed through it, and I made a small little boob. I erased the leg a little bit. But I luckily, since I have my reference image right here, I know that if I let the acrylic paint dry, I'm gonna just come in here with the black and repaint that leg right in, and then the image isn't lost. You know, part of the stencil isn't lost, because sometimes, especially for those people that don't really have steady hands, you know, I work out a lot, so I don't always have the steadiest hand, especially after arm day. But you could totally save your image. Nothing is ever lost when it comes to art, you know. It's like Bob Ross always says, happy mistakes. You can come around. Try not to let the paint clump up on the brush too much. If that is the case, really find an area that you could just kind of swipe out some of the paint on it, and then come back in, re-wet your brush, go around the animal. Again, pay attention to your brush. You know, there's a certain point of the brush that you can use, and what we painters call it as you're cutting the brush. So you cut the brush so that way you have a nice crisp line. And then move this thing around. Don't just try to paint on one side of the angle, you know. And be aware of your hand. I have a tendency of laying one of my hand down on the board as opposed to laying it on the wood, because the last thing you want to do is get paint on your hand, and then you smudge it all around your board or your clothes. Happened many times. As you can see, my board has like paint issues everywhere. It's always good to lay something down if it's not a dedicated painting space. Let's face it, things happen. Okay, I'm almost done with the feet. And by all means, I chose a very detailed image. You know, you can choose whatever image you want, and I'm sure it probably won't be as small as this one, but you know, it's good to challenge yourself every so often. If the paint starts to get clumpy on your brush, again, dip it in a little bit of water, swirl it around the blue paint, get it all nice and good. What you can also do is, if you want like a really nice, sharp, fine point, while you're dipping it in the paint here, what you do is you give your brush a little swirl, and the paint will actually swirl it nice and tight, and then you can have a nice little sharp point. I don't know, maybe I can show you that later. You have a nice sharp point on the brush itself, and this way you can get into these little tiny spots and really paint with precision. And sometimes what happens is the brush just gets too clumped up, so it's good to have, you know, a napkin by. You wet it a little bit, and maybe you just give it a little swirl. So you tighten it back up. You get off some of that excess. Wipe your hands down. Of course, you're gonna get paint on your fingers. It just happens. You're painting. Maybe we give us a little swirl like that. This way, you get that nice little sharp point back. You come back. You reload some glue onto it, and you just jump right back into it. You have that nice sharp glue. I'm liking this. There's some lighter blues and some darker blues in the sky. Kind of makes it look like it's like nighty. Nighty. That's funny. See, one thing I will definitely say, it's also very helpful to have nice lights so that you can see what you are doing. Now again, I might cover a section of the horn, like right now I just covered a little section of the horn that I probably want the horn to be output, but I'm going to later use my reference image to just come in there with some black and tidy that up. But for the most part, I can see the outline of my horn. I mean, of the antlers horn. The antlers. And I'm still in a good shape. We're almost there around the whole thing. Remember, give it a little twist. I'm just gonna fix a little bit of the back end of the tail, if you guys can see it. Voila. Always look at your work. Take a step back, admire your masterpiece. I like it. I just wet the brush. I kind of want this more blue tone to come through. watered down. You know, painting, you always, whenever you paint, you always get to learn some new things. The more you paint, the better you get. I hope you can join us in our painting classes. Yeah, I like that. It's so much better. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just let the blue paint kind of sit and dry for a little bit while I get the next color ready. Because the next color I'm going to be needing is green. We don't have it, so we're going to mix it. That's why it's so important to have the primary colors available. The primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. Everything else you can mix. So, done with the paintbrush, make sure you dip it in the water. I know people tempted just to leave it out. Dip it in that water. Get it, you know, get it cleaned up. If you want, you could even sometimes, you know, wiping it, you see that it doesn't do a full job. So you just go with a tissue, you roll it up, kind of wipe it through, boom. Looks so much more cleaner. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that back in there. Let that kind of like a hang out. So with this blue, oh, you can't see it. Here you go. So with this blue right here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little. Come on, focus. With this blue right here, I'm going to put a little yellow in there, mix it up, and make my green. However, I think I'm gonna just need a little bit more blue, just because the blue looks like it's running a little low. So, come back. Oh, sparingly. Take my blue. Blue. Now I'm just gonna double check. You know, I'm looking at this now, and I see that I did miss a little section of the horn, and I just want it to come in nice. So I'm gonna take tissue again, kind of wipe off some of the water, spin, dry. Have that nice sharp edge. Just gonna come in here real quick, and just kind of touch up the spot that I know that I missed right there. Boom. That's so nice and good. Cool. Oh, that looks awesome. Yeah. Clean the brush again. Go in there. So, I'm gonna take my yellow. Right? Well, this is a fresh yellow, so I gotta open the yellow up. Now, you never want to take the blue. Okay, let's zoom out. Alright, you never want to take the blue part that you have in here and stick in the yellow. You will corrupt this yellow, and then it's done for. What I would do is I would take another popsicle stick, and luckily this is a squirt bottle, so you do that. I just you know, just put a little on there. You want to start with a slight little amount. And honestly, I probably wouldn't even put it directly into the blue. I'd put the yellow right next to it, from there, and I just slowly start. So you see, I used a small little drop because I'm not going to use yellow so much, and I'm going to just start mixing it in. I'm probably never going to dip this blue back in, so I could just mix it together, or I could just take a new popsicle stick and use that. I'm probably just going to use the blue, but you could totally mix it. I'm never going to use the blue again, so I'm mixing it directly, and I'm going to see the green. The more yellow you add to the blue, the lighter the green's gonna get. First is gonna make like a teal color. So notice, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm starting to get a very, very slight greenish tone. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to just add a little bit more yellow. Go more for it. And just go. I'm not one to waste paint, so I know I use it very sparingly. But there's some people you want to just dig in there, go for it. But I would slowly mix this. It's becoming a lighter and lighter blue. I want to get my green. Okay, let's get in there. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's slowly becoming green. Slowly, ever so slowly. So, come in here again. I'm just gonna go for it. So you mix it. Oh yeah, that's becoming a green. There you go. It's like aqua right now. So I think one thing I forgot to do, when you get, since this paint is brand new, when you get this paint, always mix it, shake it, give it a good shake. That's one thing I didn't do. I should have shooken it. There you go. That looks more mature. If your paints have been sitting for a long time, you always want to give them a shake. You can get a hard substance. There you go. That's making it so much better. If you're not getting, say you getting, so right now, I'm getting this really dark green. I mean blue, kind of greenish tone. There you go. There you go. That's the green I actually want. What I can do is I could take a little bit of white and throw it in here, and that will lighten it up. But what I'm thinking is, since it's going to be a nighttime floor, the floor is going to be a darker green, like what I'm currently seeing right now. And then what I'm going to do is, for the trees and stuff, it will be a lighter green. So I'm actually going to take this color that I have right now, and I'm going to use it for my floor. And that floor is where, the floor is where it's going to be right here. That, so. Layer. Yep. You see it makes like a nice little teal greenish color. Now, this is where you can assess. Alright, is that looks like a light bluish. I want more green. I want it to be a darker green. I'm just going to add more yellow. Ideally, I should have just put yellow and just add a little bit of blue to make my more lighter green. I have to do that. There you go. Nope, I'm getting the green I want now. Almost there. Oh, see, almost to fallacy. Brush and water. Yellow. Let's see this. This is me just experimenting now. More yellow. Yellow all day. Now, to me, that almost looks like what I want to do. What I'm gonna do, take a little white, put a little white in this. Oops. There you go. Napkins are always great to have on the side. Your paints are gonna get dirty. Still. Look at that. I probably added too much white. One color you definitely need to be, I mean, you can always make it a little darker by just adding back into it. But you always want to make sure when you're messing with the black, use that at a microscopic level. Because black will consume all in painting. Right now that looks like a much lighter green. What I'm going to want to do now, just to return back, I really want a true green. So, and sometimes it's worth it just to have the green, especially if you're going to go for that grass look. There you go. So the more I look at this, I think I'm going to use the inside of this. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to use the inside color for the outer parts right here. Here, you only have half an hour sections. Okay, so I'm here painting it in. Okay, once I have one side done, I'm just going to go and target the other side. Oh, look at that. Cut my finger. Once you realize you get your finger wet with the paint, dry it off ASAP. You don't want excess paint running in places it's not supposed to be. Okay, sorry. I'm hoping you guys can see what I'm doing completely. You know, that's the great thing about painting is you get so involved in it. You have to be very present, so it just helps you focus, get in the moment. Boom. I kind of like the way this is coming out, I gotta say. It's looking cool. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wash my brush again. Just dip it in there, get it all washed out. And now, that microscopic black I was talking about, I'm gonna darken this green. So, on the side, use one of your chambers, put just a little, I mean you can put a good amount of black, because we're going to be using the black. Oh, that black is crispy. Okay, so I'm going to take one cool thing about these popsicle sticks, you can just wipe one side down, and I'm going to use the other side. I wipe it down just so I don't get my hands wet. I'm going to use the other side, the clean side, to just pull a very slight little bit of black. Right? And I'm going to I'm going to probably, I'm going to just dip it right in. Once I do that, note that you cannot use this side again. So what I might want to do is maybe I take to have black on either side. So first use the smaller dot and actually transfer right onto the other popsicle stick, like so. Right? So you see it? You saw it? Put a little black there. I'm just going to leave this down right here, and I'm just going to slowly mix this black in to see what happens. Go slow with mixing in the black. The last thing you want to do is lose your color and then start from scratch. Yep, you see, I already see it. It's kind of darkening with the paint. I'm going to just take a little bit more. And I, looking at this stick, I see that I have white and all this other stuff on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just take one of the blank sides of the tubes, and I'm just going to kind of just wipe it down. I don't want these colors interfering with other things. Now that those are all cleared out, and I'm pretty much not going to be using this stick again. I'm going to leave this stick to the side. I'm going to just go in here, and I'm going to just go right for it. Let's see. And I'm going to pray that there's not too much black. And there you go. And now I can see it, the black is overtaking it. I'm going to come back in here. I'm lucky I have a little white on the side there, so it can totally help me out. Oh yeah, I'm getting that darker green color I kind of want. I'm mixing it in there. Circular motion, and I think, okay, so coming in with the big brush. Now I see that I got a lot of blue all around it. Just gonna wipe it clean, wipe off some of that lighter green. Come in here, I'm just gonna paint in this ground very slowly. Do note I made this a little hard by trying to add my logo to it, so it's going to take me a lot longer. What I would always suggest is not to use words right from the get. Now one thing that's cool about you having these darker greens, right, is you gotta, I would just say, imagine a tree, right? So, alright, there you go. I'm gonna fill in the rest in a minute. But, right, imagine trees. Trees have barks, they have branches, they have darker and lighter parts. So what you need to do is with a darker green, come in here and just kind of touch up. Just kind of throw in a couple little dashes of this darker green. So this way, it can create kind of, and what I would do is I would just use one of the brushes just to kind of thin this out. And you want to make like lines. To just add a little extra depth to the image. There you go. And then what I'm noticing is this brush is a little too thick, so I'm gonna come in with my I'm gonna just first finish this off, this outer end real fast. Notice I'm going nice and slow. Nice and slow. One thing I'm noticing is there's some clump up of paint. Try not to have that clump up. It's gonna take a minute to dry, even though it is acrylic. And I just don't want to see any kind of white border. That's me. Yeah, I like it. I don't know if you guys can see the difference. Okay, so rinse this brush out. Let's grab the small fine brush, clean it up a little bit, suck out some of that water with tissue. I'm rolling it as I'm pulling it, so, and maybe even using my fingers to just kind of give it a nice little sharp point. So this way I can get in between each letter and just kind of make it nice and sharp. And of course I'm going to have to come in here with black ink and write over it. So if I do make a mistake, it happens. But for the most part, I'm rotating the frame, really working all the angles. Next time I will choose a fatter font. Shoot, see? I felt the paint wet. I don't want it. I don't want to have that. I could see it. I even smudged it right here. Let that dry. Okay, so just painting here, just knocking it out. What's great about acrylic is when it dries, you could build layers on top of it, so it really looks dimensional. It's great if you mess up. Watercolor is definitely not as forgiving. Acrylic is. Oh, see? Made a small little bubble. Almost there. Alright, I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna come in here with the black again, the darker green I mean. And I'm just gonna kind of add some extra some lines. I think will help kind of differentiate the sky a little bit more. I mean, differentiate the trees on the side here. Getting a little clumpy here. I think I'm gonna come in here. Make this nice and sharp. Alright, so what we'll do now is while the workshop's drying, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna clean my brush. I'm gonna come in here now and I'm going to, here, let's just focus. I'm gonna do the black. The white's kind of gonna be last. I might add some starlight. Once I hit the canvas with black, the black's definitely gonna be on the brush more often than not. So I'm gonna pour some, actually I don't even need to pour some white. You could pour some white. I'm gonna take some white and I'm going to just make my moon nice and bright white. Try to make it as good of a circle as possible. Roll your canvas around. What I would also do is this. I forgot to tell you guys. Remove this That way it's not in your way and it doesn't flap over, because if it flaps over it's going to have paint on it and you will be mad at yourself. There you go. That moon looks good. And what I'm going to do is, since I have a little bit of white, I'm just going to add little dots in here so that it looks like sky. Try not to smash your brush down, because then you make way too bright of a star, and then it just doesn't look good. Like that. So what's cool here is I went a little overboard with the stars. I really did. So you can see I went a little overboard on the stars. So what I think I'm going to do is, I see a little blue here that I can salvage and save in the corner here. So I'm going to take just a touch of the blue without touching anything else. And I'm just going to let the blue dry. I'm going to come in there. I'm going to paint. Ooh, that's actually a green. And that's interesting. Not the color I want, but very interesting. I want the blue, so I'm gonna go for my blue. Oops. And I'm just gonna cover up some of the stuff that I don't like. There you go. Maybe that one too. Cool. I think I just want just another touch of little blue. Always good to try to let the white dry a little bit more. I don't want this blue. So if you see, I don't want this blue right here next to the foot. I'm just gonna come in, erase a majority of them. Yeah, I like that. Cool. Cool. Okay, so clean the brush. Even though blue and black go together, but I want this to be pure black. So I'm gonna come in here, get my black, and I'm gonna just start, since there's not a lot of black on the brush, I'm gonna start with the most finer details, which is the antlers here. And I'm just gonna kind of come in nice and slow and paint my animal. Gentle with the brush, slow and steady. Okay, just paint in those antlers. Focus. roll the canvas around. Ooh, that's a lot of black. Always check your brush before you dip it into the canvas. Sometimes you could pick up a lot of paint. So what you do is you just kind of use a piece of the side of the canvas to, let me close that. Use a piece of the side of the canvas, the side of the paint tray to just kind of wipe off a lot of the excess. And then you get a really kind of like a nice fine little line. And then you could come back in here and you could touch it where you need to touch up. Nice. Get this ear. The ear delineation is a little. Almost there. And you see, I probably put more black than I needed to on the actual tray, paint tray. A whole lot more than I needed to, but it's cool because it's just gonna make it so that I definitely have enough. Cool. Coming out good so far. And that's the thing, just be patient with yourself. Paint. Take your time. Enjoy the process. Have a good blast. And forget about the worries of the world. Alrighty, I'm now gonna go for the legs. Taking your reference image, just kind of having it in front of you. So if you want to glance at it, you can. So, noticing this is getting a little clumped up. Clean the brush. Leave the paint on it. It's cool. It makes it a lot straighter. And now go back, reapply. Go for those thin lines. Beautiful. Go back, reapply. Clumpy again. Spin. Give it a little spin. and it runs with it. Very, very just like. Very sparingly. And with some dedication and some work, you're gonna have something cool like that. Just gonna let it dry. Even though the more I look at it, I don't like the ink running around the figurine. So I might just come in here. So after completing the ornament, I decided to add some gold touch-ups to make it really pop more, especially around the animal and also into the name. After it dried, it kind of, the black got lost into the blue because the blue is very dark. So definitely I should have had that lighter blue there. Also, this is the back of it. Didn't really record that because my batteries just died at that point. I'm hoping next time to have a better setup. Alright, till next time, I hope you guys enjoyed.